Having been released in September of 2019, Nintendo's handheld-only version of their hit Switch console has been on the market for roughly about a year. I bought mine around this time last year, and I just want to talk about how it's held up over time, and if it was worth a purchase or not. Now before I dive in, let me give a bit of context. I bought the Nintendo Switch Lite not as my primary Switch. I already owned the original version of the console, and seeing as how I played 90% of my Switch in handheld mode, I thought that owning one of these would probably be a good idea, and would eventually replace my primary Switch as my mainly used console. This ended up not being the case, but I'll get into that in a little while. Firstly, I just want to applaud Nintendo for the design of the Nintendo Switch Lite. I didn't have a problem with the original Switch's design. I thought it was pretty comfortable to hold, was a decent size, and made for a great handheld console. But with the Switch Lite, Nintendo took everything that was great about the original release Switch and just took it up a notch. The Switch Lite is extremely sleek, extremely comfortable to hold, and is actually thinner than the original console. Playing the Switch Lite for extended periods of time is no problem at all, and the inclusion of a legit D-pad was a very welcome addition. The screen quality is every bit as good as the original console, and the battery life seems to last a little bit longer than the console that I bought at launch. For the first few weeks that I owned the Nintendo Switch Lite, I pretty much took it with me everywhere. Areas that the console started to lose me at, where I have no idea why Nintendo decided to go with the more squishy style buttons when they've been using the really solid clickable buttons all the way from the 3DS to now. I have no idea what made them want to switch this, but the buttons on the Nintendo Switch Lite just don't feel as good as how they do on the Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons. Another thing I shortly realized was how frequently I played multiplayer on my Nintendo Switch. Whereas before I would just take my Switch with me, break off the Joy-Cons, and enjoy a few minutes of multiplayer, I couldn't do that anymore with the Switch Lite. The fact that it doesn't have a kickstand also provides a challenge when trying to play in tabletop mode. I found myself leaning it up against things or just trying to prop it up so that it can actually be used. So because this was a big issue for me and this was something that I really enjoyed doing, I found myself, instead of just carrying my Switch Lite with me, I was carrying my Switch Lite, a stand so that it can be used in tabletop mode, and either a spare set of Joy-Cons or some extra controllers. The fact that I found myself lugging all this stuff around really took away from the portability aspect of it, and I found myself just bringing my original Nintendo Switch along more. And over the course of the past year, I found myself using it less and less. Another thing I found disappointing were the lack of accessories made for this console. While there's a ton of accessories and add-ons for the Nintendo Switch, the Switch Lite just seems to be kind of lacking in that department. There are a few exceptions, like some skins, shells, and grips that are available for the console, but all of those pale in comparison to the kind of things that you can find for the original Switch. Of course, none of this takes away from the fact that the Nintendo Switch Lite is an outstanding handheld console, and if you're someone that finds yourself playing in handheld mode and playing single player more often than not, then the Switch Lite might actually be the best version of the Switch for you. You get to save some money, and it takes care of everything that you need it to do. I can totally see the Switch Lite worth it in that case. But if you already own a Nintendo Switch and you're looking to buy one of these as a complimentary console, I think you're going to find yourself still going back to the original. The Switch Lite just doesn't come close to the original in terms of features and even add-ons. If I had to pick between the two, I'd take the original Switch console any day out the week. But that's just my opinion, and everyone is entitled to their own preference. Hope you guys enjoyed. Until next time, this is Ness, signing out.